Hello, everybody, and welcome to Admissionado's Insider's Guide to INSEAD. This is one of our guides on a series of European business programs. My name is Yaron Dahan, and I'll be running you through this guide today and some of the other ones as well. Great to have you all here, so let's just get started. Before we get into INSEAD, let's talk a little bit about what makes a European MBA program a bit unique. There's lots of stuff that is very similar to the US MBA programs, the job placements afterwards, the studies themselves, but there are many things that are very, very different as well. First of all, the programs tend to be shorter, sometimes 12, 15, 19, 17 months, as opposed to 2 full years. So it means you get in and get out a bit quicker. Can be good if that's what you're looking for. They have good deadlines for people who are late in the game, meaning people who only realize in round 2 that they want to apply. So if you are somebody who only realized a little bit late, it can be good because they have lots of deadlines basically about now, January, February, March. Can also be a good backup plan for those who didn't get accepted to US programs of their choice. So if that happened to you, sorry to hear that, but you have more options even before next year if you're in a bit of a rush. So it can help out in those cases too. Obviously, a European program is very, very good for people who want to work in Europe. Maybe a little bit less obvious is that the European programs tend to be very, very international, much more so than the US MBA programs. And for example, if you wanted to go to Latin America and work there, or Asia, the European programs tend to send a lot more people internationally than the US program. So it can be a really fantastic option for you then. Of course, living in another culture and language is maybe has a little bit less to do with business, but it's really a fantastic advantage to a European MBA program. And finally, the programs, because they are so international, they tend to have a very diverse program with very, very diverse student bodies, and we'll have a look at that a bit further in a second. Okay, yes, there's one more very good reason, and it's called ROI, return on investment. Basically, the fact that you can finish an MBA, which is the equivalent of a 2-year MBA in 1 year, saves you a lot of money. So if we take a look at the numbers here, if you factor in opportunity costs, let's assume a salary of $60,000, 2 years of tuition plus 2 years of opportunity costs were above $300,000 for Sloan or another typical US MBA program. Whereas for INSEAD, with only 1 year of tuition and expenses and 1 year of opportunity cost, it comes out to be a little bit more than half of that, with quite similar post-MBA salaries at the end on average. Of course, it depends from industry to industry and job to job, but just looking very generally at the average statistics. Okay, so one of the things I mentioned already is that one of the big differences between international European MBA programs and US MBA programs are that the European MBA programs tend to be a lot more international. And if we look at the numbers here, we can see just how much more. Just to compare Harvard and INSEAD, the international students of Harvard make up a third of the class. In INSEAD, they're 92% of the class. And we see very similar numbers for faculty and board. Just as interesting, or perhaps even more interesting, depending upon your goals, is where people actually work. Really, if you're going to America to do an MBA program, or if you are in the US to do an MBA program, the large majority of people stay in the US, another 8% go to Europe, and then some folks go elsewhere. Whereas in INSEAD, it's really, really diverse. People go everywhere, as you can see. They come from everywhere and go everywhere. So Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, Latin America, and the Caribbean. It's because, there's lots of reasons, but one of the reasons that the programs really put this focus on the international. So the recruiters look for people who have this training and this experience of living abroad and speaking many languages, and so on. So if you want that international job, it can be a really good choice for you. So, what are the European MBA programs? The kind of top 3 MBA programs, the most prestigious ones are INSEAD, LBS, and IMD. There are many other fantastic programs, including and not limited to Istituto Impresa, IESE, ISAD, Oxford, Cambridge, Warwick, Manchester, HEC, Rotterdam, and Bocconi. And in some of our other meetings and webinars, we will talk about some of these other programs as well. So let's get to the meat of our meeting today. Let's talk about INSEAD. Very lovely campus, as you can see here, and very nice building with shiny windows. All right, INSEAD, the Euro Consulting Heaven. Why do we call it that? Because they recruit so many people to major consulting firms, international consulting firms, that's the basic reason. So INSEAD is the global MBA program. It is one of the few international schools with the prestige that could rival top US schools. And global is really global. Like we saw some of the numbers before. Students come from over 80 countries. They have 2 campuses, one in Fontainebleau in France and one in Singapore. So really a gateway to Asia and to Europe. Tons of really fantastic exchange programs. So Wharton, Kellogg, CEIBS, so you can take that extra time and go to yet another continent, or twice on the same if you prefer. And as we saw before, over 90% of the students and faculty hail from locations around the world. So it is really one of the major destinations for people who want to lead an international business career. So, who is the INSEAD MBA? They are older, not as old as this guy here, but still a bit older. U.S. Average age at MBA programs tends to be about 26 in the United States. INSEAD, we're hovering about 30. So people tend to go a bit later, tend to be a little bit more experienced. It's a good choice, which makes it a good choice for older candidates or those who might otherwise be thinking of doing an EMBA. So somebody who's 32, 33 might be on the cusp really for a US MBA program because you'd be so much older than your other colleagues. But for a European MBA program, it's quite good. The INSEAD MBA is very strong in international consulting, finance, and manufacturing. So, kind of a lot of the traditional MBA industries. The school boasts a fantastic placement rate, and recruiters from top firms like McKinsey and Company, Boston Consulting Group, Bain, Booz, and more. So these are, I'm not sure if they're the exact top 5 recruiters, but amongst the top recruiters. And as you can see, consulting. So that's why we called it Euro Consulting Heaven. And they are financially savvy. This has to do with a return on investment. Get in and out in a year, saving yourself a whole lot of money. So you're clever if you do that. Okay, now on to our application tips. What does INSEAD look for? Who does INSEAD want to be a part of their class? So first tip, be creative, inventive, humorous, passionate, curious. It might seem a little bit cliche to say this, but it's especially important for INSEAD. Of course, you have to have the success and the nice GMAT and the good grades, and this is important like every other MBA program. But there's also an emphasis on the person. So this is why you should take a little bit of risks in your essays also, to say something wild and interesting and something they've never heard before. Obviously, they like candidates who are quite international, so play up your internationalism both in your past and in your goals. If you have leadership experience, this is a big bonus. This is true, of course, for every MBA program. Even better would be if you have international leadership experience. I've seen a lot of folks who have this and who have done very, very well at INSEAD. Um, Otherwise, naturally, you should show a location fit with INSEAD's locations and opportunities. So, for example, if you were to have a goal that would be half in Europe and half in Asia, INSEAD would be obviously the perfect destination for you, and you should be telling them this. Of course, you don't have to have goals that are both in Europe or Asia, but using Singapore as a gateway to a job in Asia that has to do with your specific goals would be a fantastic way also of boosting your profile. Finally, show a match with the industry, meaning the industries that traditionally tend to be strong in INSEAD, especially consulting industry, meaning manufacturing and so on, and family businesses. INSEAD is quite strong with family business and entrepreneurship. So if you have this somewhere inside your career history, or if this is part of your goals, you should be mentioning that. Finally, the bottom line, INSEAD's prestige, proven recruitment record, and fantastic return on your investment make it an amazing choice if you are set on having an international business career. So, play your cards right, and you could be one of these little pixel figures in the INSEAD graduating class, the huge INSEAD graduating class of 500 every intake.